Hello again, Chef, and welcome back to the Industry Standard, where our mission is to teach you the strategies and tactics that I've learned and my colleagues have learned in the past 30 years of professional cooking. Today's book report is on A New Napa Cuisine by Chef Christopher Kostow. Unique book. It's got a canvas cover with this silhouette, black and white silhouette of evergreen trees and a hawk soaring above them, and looks like one of the trees was damaged by fire. And that sound you hear in the background is my yellow lab walking across the floor. This copy is special to me. Chef Christopher drove it up to my house and inscribed it in a very generous gesture. That was great. This is dated 10/8/2014, so this book was published about 10 years ago. Chef Christopher was a philosophy student, and the writing here is really, really good. There's a lot of background. There's a lot of great prose that's worth reading. The parts that stick out to me are things that align with the industry standards mission. There's something he writes in here, with cooking as with philosophy, most of the credit is owed to those who came before. Chefs don't rise out of the ashes fully formed. Our entire métier is based on skill sets that were first developed and perfected by other people. I am a student of a craft that requires more time spent in pursuit of competence than is possible between commercial breaks. Man, that could be a great explanation of the industry standard itself. So the cookbook itself, the photos are gorgeous. The plateware is unbelievable. Everything in here looks exactly like the food that was on the plates at Meadowood when I went to eat there. So Chef Kostow's restaurants right now are Charter Oak in St. Helena, Lovesky Deli in Napa, and there may be one more, Chicho in Yountville. But at the time of the writing of this, and before Meadowood burned down a few years ago, he was the chef at the restaurant at Meadowood, and that's where he got his first 3 stars, and he was the second California chef to get 3 stars along with the French Laundry, and in a very, very different vein from the French Laundry. There's a singular approach to cuisine here. He clearly wants to be in a category of one. The restaurant at Meadowood was definitely in a category of one. The food is austere without being unapproachable, and it's luxurious in its own way. And to me, that is the coolest thing about his approach to food and about the book itself, and that is the luxury of specificity. You should read this book. You should read more about the luxury of specificity. But my takeaway from that phrase is that just about anyone these days can import caviar, truffles, and foie gras. And as long as you get out of their way, they're going to be great products. They're going to be fantastic. They're going to be enjoyable experiences for your guests. But the specificity that he finds in doing things that are hyper-local in terms of growing vegetables and foraging and cooking potatoes in beeswax that comes from apiaries on the Meadowood property and things like that cannot be transported or done elsewhere is a very specific type of luxury, and there's something completely unique about that I think is very cool. So just listen to the title of this dish. It's called Eel Smoked Over Cabernet Barrels, Last Year's Grapes, Tongue. So he's not one to list out on the menu the style that the ingredients are prepared in. This is one exception to that. It's usually just daylilies, wild onions, salmon roe, or something like that. So I want to read the description of this dish. This dish began with a young cook gardener who brought me an old Cabernet barrel and wondered what we might do with it. We played around with smoking eel over the barrel and found that the process imparted the wine flavor beautifully. We pair the eel with an equally fatty tongue and finish other elements of the grape. Barely dried raisins, a mustard made from the grape must of the previous year, and a vinegar made from the red wine itself. So I don't know how much more Napa Valley a dish could get. I know when we think of Napa Valley, generally think of Cindy Paulson. We may think of Chez Panisse and Alice Waters, even though that was Berkeley. We may think of John Ash, even though he was in Sonoma. But we think of those ripe tomatoes and peaches. We think of the asparagus. We think of the fava beans. We think of the squash and those things. And it's very cool to see all the different ways that grape was imparted to this, and then it was also cooked over the staves from a Cabernet barrel. So I don't think that I know that this book could not be, written anywhere else. So the luxury of specificity percolates up to the fact that these dishes and this cuisine could not have existed anywhere else. That's reflected in the plateware, that's reflected in the ingredients, that's reflected in the sensibility. It's also reflected in the fact that in Napa Valley, the only thing you can do there is eat and drink. And that's why people go there. And that's why that's one reason that a place like this can exist. The quality of the photography, the perspective of the photography is on par with the best cookbooks out there. And this one goes deep, from soup to nuts, all the way from things being pulled out of the ground to them being put on the plate. And that's today's book report on a new Napa Cuisine by Chef Christopher Kostow. You can find more premium content and free bonus content at the-industrystandard.com. Stay humble, stay hungry.